This man's beard has become a spirit. A clean shave will soon grow back. He doesn't believe this evil. Shave all the beard at once, looking at the handsome face in the mirror, satisfied and wiped off the foam. The result is that the beard still grows out neatly. Rashi was too late to be depressed, because he was late for work. The pile of small animals followed him closely, afraid of losing him if he wasn't careful. Arrived at the office, a flock of birds flew over his head. They wanted to make a home in his head. He couldn't get rid of them. Lacey was puzzled. As for who he's messing with, he couldn't go to work. He drove straight home, but then 2 old cows got in the way. Lassie was about to spit out his fragrance, but he found 2 sheep in the car at some point. There were 2 lions in the passenger seat. As soon as Lassie stopped the car, a flock of vultures flew to the roof of his car. He was so scared that he drove home. Just in front of the house was surrounded by a group of animals. Although the scene was spectacular, but the mood was not beautiful at all. He wondered what all this was about. At that moment an old man suddenly appeared, just to spell the animals. This move is more or less bluff, but what he said next was even more shocking. The old man claimed to be God, said that soon there will be an unprecedented disaster, asked Lacey to make a Noah's Ark before the disaster, and then he took out the drawing. Then he used his divine power to look back in time. With the development of mankind, animals have lost their homes and brought harm to nature. Now the materials for the ark are ready. If you let the animals on the ark, they won't bother you anymore. Then Lacey had to say yes or no. Then he took the children and started to build the ark. But you can't lose your job either. We can only fish for 3 days and then sunbathe for 2 days. The slow progress of the ark angered God, so the more bizarre things happened. This man was targeted by a fish. The man was scared and panicked a little. He quickly ran to the other side. The fish also quickly chased after him. A circle of fish stared at the man fiercely. This is too spooky. We can't let anyone find out. When his boss is not looking, he bribes them with fish bait to bribe them, but the fish don't move at all. The man gets a little nervous, making a face to scare the fish, but the fish didn't even blink. They just want to stare at him. The man is already broken. But this is nothing. Not only the fish stares at him, flying in the sky, running on the ground. As long as the animals see him, they all stare at him, because Lassie promised God to build the ark. But the slow progress made God angry. Not only did he make the animals watch him, and made his hair all over his body, growing longer and longer but cannot be cut. And Lassie is also stubborn little temper. He braided his beard. He went straight to the meeting. When it was his turn to speak, instantly turned into a primitive look. The animals also all gathered here. The officials in the audience directly forked him out as a mental patient. This time, he lost his job for good. He could only build the ark full time. Lacey, who had no choice but to build the ark. Soon the skeleton of the ark was built. Rashi also changed from a young man to an old man overnight. The whole family was baffled. Rashi told his wife about the disaster. God rewarded Rashi for his excellent performance. He sent all the animals from the neighborhood to help. The alpacas worked as porters and the elephants helped with transportation. Giraffes as cranes. Baboons carried the wood. Even the lions are working as security guards to scare away some unscrupulous journalists. With the combined efforts of everyone, the ark was soon built, and the story was all over the media channels. People learned from Lacey's mouth the news of the coming flood, but they didn't think so. They thought that Rashi was a complete psychopath. Rashi was holding a pickaxe in the air, inviting all the people and animals to enter the ark to escape the disaster. But the weather was exceptionally sunny. It hadn't rained in a long time. It didn't look like a flood was coming. This dam is a tofu dreg project. It collapsed completely in just 6 months. Not far away, reporters are still reporting. Today there are no clouds, wind, and sunshine. There is absolutely no chance of flooding. But Lacey, standing on the bow of the boat, by God's command, he was calling for people and animals to get on the boat. He was convinced that the flood would come. The animals all obeyed and got into the boat. But the crowd below said that Lacey was out of his mind. There was much ridicule. Even the police thought Lassie was spreading rumors. He even brought in an excavator from Lanshan. He intended to tear down the ark. The wife also rushed to persuade this. In the heat of the day, the ground is so hot you could bake an egg. How can there be a flood? By this time, the excavator was in place. Just give the order. The ark will be crushed immediately. At that moment, only 3 children in the world believed in him. In order not to disappoint the children, he took his family inside the ark. All the animals here are on the edge of their seats, and the intuition of animals is often the precursor to a great disaster. At that moment, the sky was filled with dark clouds and the wind was howling. The rain came down in torrents. Lacey was excited. God was right with me. He immediately shouted to the crowd, "Tell them to come up quickly. The flood was about to come." Everyone was so frightened that they were about to shake, but the rain stopped as soon as it was supposed to. The crowd began to laugh at Lacey again. Even Lacey himself doubted his life. Just then, the police noticed the anomaly in the distance. They shouted for the crowd to get on board. The people instantly became frightened. They ran to the boat as fast as they could. In an instant the flood came rushing in. Everywhere they went, they were wiped out. Houses were instantly torn apart. Fortunately, everyone got on the boat. But this wooden ark, in front of the disaster, it seemed very small. People held on tightly, afraid that if they were not careful, they would fall into the flood. Then a bridge crossed the front. If it hit, the boat would be destroyed. Lacey prayed to God. A miracle happened. A huge wave came, helped the ark turn the bow. It went down the water. Finally it stopped at the entrance of the city center. And so everyone was saved. And in the end it turned out, it was not a natural disaster at all, but the dam was built tofu. That's what caused the disaster. And God restored Lacey to her original form. He became the hero of the children's hearts.